Forget every benchmark in this series, every average, every median, every "you should have this much by this age." Forget all of it, just for a moment. Because after 6 full episodes climbing the money hill decade by decade, I have been quietly holding back the single most important thing, and it is time to hand it over. All those numbers you have been measured against are real, but they answer the wrong question. They tell you where a crowd of strangers is standing. They cannot tell you the one thing that actually decides how your story ends. So today, no new bracket. Instead, the whole hill in one view, and then the only net worth number that has ever actually mattered. Here is the plan for this finale. First, I will put the entire climb back on one screen. All 6 decades, all 6 median markers, the whole journey at a glance. Then I will give you 6 closing ideas that pull the series together. 1. Every benchmark you were handed was an average wearing a disguise. 2. Slope beats position. The behind 30-year-old climbing overtakes the ahead one coasting. 3. Your savings rate is the single number you actually control. 4. The only honest scoreboard is you against your past self. 5. Stop racing a ghost. And 6. The real scoreboard was never the number. It was the life the money buys. And underneath all 6 sits the one number that actually matters. Let us climb the whole hill one last time. Picture the money hill one final time, but now with the whole trail drawn in at once. It starts near 0 under 35, where the typical household sits around $39,000. It rises through the 30s to a median near $135,000. It climbs through the 40s to about $247,000, steepens through the 50s to around $364,000, and reaches its summit in the late 60s at roughly $410,000, the highest the typical household ever gets. Then in the 70s and beyond, it gently comes back down to about $335,000 on purpose as the money finally gets spent on the life it was built for. 6 decades, 1 curve, 1 climb, and 1 graceful descent. That is the shape of a normal financial life, start to finish. Now lay the averages over that same curve and watch what happens. Every single one towers over its median. 183,000 against 39, 549 against 135, nearly a million against 247, 1.5 million against 364, 1.8 million against 410. A second hill floating high above the real one, everywhere, at every age. That gap never closed. It was never supposed to. The average was always describing the outliers, the founders, the heirs, the lucky few at the far end of the line, and quietly letting you assume it described you. It never did. Hold that picture, because it is the launch pad for everything I am about to tell you. Beat 1, and it is a quiet act of demolition. Every benchmark in this series was an average in disguise. Retire all of them. Think about the rules you have been handed in this series and everywhere else. 1 times your salary saved by 30. 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50, 8 to 10 times by your late 60s. They sound like laws of nature, handed down from somewhere official. They are not. They are averages, dressed up as targets, and averages are pulled skyward by the same handful of outliers we have been talking about for 6 episodes. When a rule says, you should have 3 times your salary by 40, ask the honest question. 3 times according to whom? Line up everyone that age, and the typical person, the median, the real middle, is nowhere near it. The benchmark describes a person who does not exist, then quietly bills you for the difference. And here is the cruelty of it. Those numbers are engineered to make almost everyone feel behind, because almost everyone is below an average by definition. That is what an average being dragged up by the top does. So I want you to do something freeing right now. Take every one of those "you should have this much" rules and set it down. Not because saving does not matter. It matters more than anything, and we are getting to exactly how. But because a target built from outliers is not a target you were ever meant to hit, it is a ghost, and you are about to meet the number that is actually yours. Beat 2, and this is the heart of the whole series. Slope beats position, every single time. Let me make it concrete with 2 people, both 30 years old, standing on the same spot on the hill. The first is worth $20,000. The second is worth $100,000. On paper, on a screenshot, in a comment section, the second person is winning by 5-1, and the first person feels hopelessly behind. But watch what actually happens over time. The first person saves hard and invests every single month, steadily, automatically. Their line climbs at a steep angle. The second person is coasting, spending everything that comes in, their balance flat or drifting downward. Their line runs almost level. Now draw both trajectories forward across the decades. The steep line of the behind person rises, and somewhere out there it crosses the flat line of the ahead one, and then it keeps going and it never looks back. The person who started with a fifth of the money finishes with a multiple of it. This is the single most important idea in this entire series, so let it land completely. Your position is a snapshot, frozen, already gone the instant it was taken. Your slope is the engine, running every month, writing every chapter still to come. A snapshot flatters the coaster. The trajectory belongs entirely to the climber, which means the question is never, how much do I have right now? It is, which direction am I moving and how fast? Get the slope right, at any starting position, and the position sorts itself out. That is why the behind 30-year-old climbing beats the ahead one coasting, and it is true at every age on the hill. Beat 3. If slope is what matters, then here is the lever that sets your slope, your savings rate, the single number you actually control. Think about everything that goes into your net worth and sort it into 2 piles. In one pile, the things you cannot control. The stock market's return this year. Interest rates. Which decade you happen to be born into. The economy. Your exact bracket. You can obsess over all of it and change none of it. In the other pile sits one lever. The percentage of what you earn that you keep and invest instead of spend. That is it. That is the whole controllable pile. And the remarkable thing is that this one controllable lever is also the most powerful one, because it works at every age on the hill. In your 20s, when the balance is tiny and noisy, the rate is the entire game. In your 30s, it is what decides whether a rising income becomes rising wealth or just a bigger life. In your 40s and 50s, it is the catch-up. Even at the summit, the discipline that built the number is the discipline that makes it last. The market will do whatever it does. Some years generous, some years brutal, and you cannot vote on it. But the gap between what you earn and what you spend, you set that, this month, at any income. That is why, of every number in 6 episodes, this is the one worth watching. Not the market, not your bracket, the percentage you keep. Nudge it up a single point at a time, and you are steepening your own slope with the one dial that answers to you. Beat 4. Once you know that slope and savings rate are the real game, the whole idea of comparing yourself to strangers collapses, because there is only one honest scoreboard, and it is you against your past self. Every average, every median, every benchmark we have discussed shares one fatal flaw as a measuring stick. It describes other people. It describes a crowd you will never meet, standing at heights you cannot see, shaped by histories that are not yours. Different incomes, different debts, different starting lines, different luck. Measuring your worth against that crowd is measuring yourself against a ghost. It cannot be beaten, it cannot be caught, and worst of all, nothing you do today changes it 1 cent. So replace it with the only comparison that has a real answer. Am I worth more than I was a year ago? Is the gap between what I earn and what I spend wider than it was? Did money get invested every single month, automatically, whether I felt like it or not? Those questions describe a person you can actually find, standing at a height you can actually measure, shaped by a history that is entirely yours. You, a year ago. And beating that person is completely within your control. Notice, too, that this scoreboard is honest in both directions. It will not let you off the hook if you drifted, and it will not let a big inherited head start convince you that you are winning while you coast. It only ever asks, are you moving up your own hill? Someone who went from 10,000 to 15,000 this year on a modest income is winning by the only measure that matters, even while a stranger their age sits at 100,000 and slides. Stop racing the crowd. Race last year's version of you. That is the only opponent you can actually beat. Beat 5, and here we make it visual, because I want you to see your own hill instead of the crowd's. Forget the national curve for a second and draw a new one, just yours. On the bottom, time. This year, next year, the year after. Going up, your own net worth. Now plot the honest dots, one a year. What you were worth 12 months ago, what you are worth today. Connect them, and you have the only chart that has ever actually described you. Not a bracket, not an average, a line made entirely of your own decisions. And here is the beautiful part. That line's steepness is set almost entirely by the one lever from beat 3, your savings rate. Turn the rate up, and your personal curve tilts upward and pulls away from where it would have been. Let lifestyle creep eat every raise, and your curve flattens even as your income climbs. The trap that springs in the 30s, drawn on your own graph. This is what ties the whole series together. The national money hill was never a track you had to match, step for step, decade for decade. It was just the average shape of millions of these personal curves laid on top of each other. Yours can be steeper than the crowd's at any age from any starting point, and the thing that steepens it is not the market and not your bracket. It is the percentage you keep, compounded over the years you have left. So stop checking your dot against the national curve. Draw your own, add one honest dot a year, and make the only line that matters point up. Beat 6, and it is the one that outranks every number we have ever discussed. The real scoreboard was never the net worth at all. It was always the life the money buys. For 6 episodes, we have watched a number climb a hill and then come back down, and it is easy to walk away thinking the number was the point, that a bigger figure than the stranger next to you is the prize. It is not, and it never was. Money is a tool, and like any tool, it is worthless sitting on a shelf being admired. Its entire value is in what it does. It buys back time, hours you would have sold, handed back to you. It buys freedom, the ability to say no to what you hate and yes to what you love. It buys security, a night's sleep when the car breaks or the job ends. It buys the ability to be generous, to help the people you love while you are still here to watch it land. That is the real net worth, and none of it fits on a chart. Here is the trap the whole benchmark culture sets. It turns money into a scoreboard, a game you play against strangers, where the only move is to make the number bigger than theirs. And you can win that game completely and still lose everything that mattered, richer than everyone you know and starved of time, freedom, and people. So carry this out of the series above all else. The number is the tool. The life is the score. A modest number pointed at a rich life beats a huge number chasing a bigger one, every time. Build the number, yes, with the boring consistency we have talked about for 7 episodes, but never forget what you are building it for. So after 7 episodes and 6 decades, let me finally name it, the only net worth number that actually matters. It is not the average for your age. It is not the median either, though the median was always the kinder, more honest mirror. It is not any benchmark, any multiple of salary, any "you should have this much by now." The one number that actually matters is your personal trajectory, and the savings rate that sets it. That is the whole answer. Not where you are on the hill, but how steeply you are climbing your own, and the one dial that controls the steepness. And the reason this is so freeing is that it works identically at every age we covered. 25 and starting from nothing. Your slope is everything, and you have the most time to let it run. Set the rate, automate it, and the tiny balance stops mattering. 45 and feeling behind. Your slope is still the answer, the catch-up window is real, and the rate is the lever that closes the gap. 60 and near the summit. The same discipline that built the number is what makes it last through the descent. There is no age on this hill where your position decides your outcome and your trajectory does not. So here is what to actually do. At any age you are watching this. Draw your own curve, not the crowd's. Find your savings rate, the percentage you keep, and nudge it up 1 point this month. Automate the investing so your slope does not depend on your willpower. Compare yourself only to last year's you, and measure the whole thing, in the end, not in dollars, but in time, freedom, security, and people. Do that, and you have already beaten every benchmark in this series because you stopped playing their game and started climbing your own hill. So that is the climb, all the way up and all the way over. 7 episodes, 6 decades, 1 hill, and the number that was hiding underneath all of them. If this series cleared the fog for you, the whole playlist is right there. Start again at your 20s and watch the hill differently now that you know how it ends, or send it to someone standing at a decade you have already climbed. Tell me in the comments which beat landed hardest and where you are on your own curve right now. This was always education, not financial advice. Just the map, laid out honestly, 1 decade at a time. Wherever you stand on the hill today, the next dollar you invest moves you up it, and the only person you are racing is the one you were a year ago. Thanks for climbing the whole thing with me. I will see you at the top.